Hey guys, what's up? It's Dan Weinberger here, CEO of Morpheus.Network, here with another AMA and Ask Me Anything. Once again, as always thank the community for their fantastic questions on Reddit, on Telegram. Thank you to the administrators as well and the people on Reddit who were able to add those questions for people who don't have enough karma to add questions onto Reddit. So great crop of questions we have this go around. I'm excited to get to them. So without further ado, let's get to them. All right. What is the most validating part of the project at this stage? Great question. A lot of stuff is obviously amazing with the project. I'd say the most validating part is actually solving problems for real clients and enterprises. It's an amazing feeling to have an enterprise say, this is exactly what we need, this is exactly what we're looking for. And the fact that we're able to provide that as a startup to them, really validating that we started up the right thing with the right tech at the right time, and it feels fantastic. So solving real problems for real companies, super validating. Thank you for that question. So Dan and Noam, the team seem to be nonstop working on 10 things at once to make the project a success, yet some community never seems satisfied. That bother you? How do you deal with that negativity? Great question. And to be honest, I think that that question could be broken up in two different things that we can think of with that question. So the nonstop working on 10 things at once. I've never had a community member make a comment to me or anyone on the team that we're not working hard enough, or get at it and get to it. So I feel like that part of it is we enjoy doing it. We like working hard. I have a huge passion for this project. I've been in supply chain for a long time, and honestly, this is the most passionate job and sort of thing I've been a part of my entire life. So from a work perspective, obviously, so I'm very excited about it, and that's to me, working on 10 different things, it's no problem, and I love it, and I think the community sees that as well. So I've seen no negativity based on that. Only negativity I guess we see in the community is maybe 2 or 3 people who are I guess negative about the fact that there isn't clarity about some of the specifics surrounding the project. And I must say that has to do specifically about the lack of clarity we have with regulations. If there are clear regulations out there, we'd love to set all the specifics clearly as well. But based on the fact that we're not looking to overstep our boundaries when it comes to regulations, until that regulation clarity is out there, there's going to be some unclarity in what we do as well, based on the lack of clarity with the regulations. So we're happy to answer any sort of questions, obviously, when it comes to AMAs like this or Telegram and so on and so forth. But if our answer is we can't answer a question based on the lack of regulation clarity that's out there, then that's the answer, right? So you can ask the question, when I say whoever that would be, X, Y, Z, A, B, C, can ask the question over and over and over again. But if the regulations are not clear, and we'll talk about that a little bit more, I think there's some more questions that relate to that as well. Until there's clear regulations, we can't really give those clear answers as well. So thank you for that question. So, all right. In the crypto space, you hear a lot of buzzwords and general rhetoric. Everyone is promising to fix the problems of X industry. Can you explain what Morpheus.Network fixes in supply chain with an example? Yeah, really easy, to think of an example within supply chain and what we look to fix, So what Morpheus.Network is, we're middleware, right? So by nature, we're middleware connecting all these disjointed parts of supply chain. When I say disjointed parts of supply chain, there's so many different systems in play. Whether you're talking about a PO coming from one company being received by another company, and then from there you're taking that data and have to process it through the internal systems, whether it's through inventory or through manufacturing, all the way down to logistics, and all these different systems are different data silos within a company itself, let alone the multiple parties in play as well. So even once you ship something off, whether you're using an international shipment, so you're using a customs broker, an ocean container shipment, or if it's a transport truck as well, you have all these different parties involved. And once again, bringing all that data in right from the original purchase order, right from the original web order, wherever it's from, and making that data actionable throughout the entire supply chain, so you're using that data properly. Not only that, but bringing in all these other disjointed systems. So when it comes into, let's say, cold chain, for example, and needing temperature to be recorded and maintained through an entire supply chain, that's a whole different data silo the companies are dealing with. So they have their whole cold chain login, they check out their temperatures, and that's great and all, but it's not connected to the rest of the data. It's not connected to the specific shipment itself until a different data silo is opened up with all these different manual communication with the different departments of the company. So we look to shut down those data silos, create dynamic data working across different systems, And that's specifically what we tackled, this disjointed nature of supply chain. And based on the history of supply chain and the amount of the amount of room to grow when it comes to leveraging different technologies, I think we're in the right, specifically in the right place in the right time right now to keep on growing as there's so much room to grow in supply chain. So thank you for that. Hopefully I answered that question properly, but I don't think that anything we're doing within supply chain, based on question number one about feeling validated by the value we're providing to enterprises, that there's any buzzwords with what we're doing at all. It's all in the all proof is in the pudding with what we're putting out there. So will there be a tiered masternode system that way most of us can own a node instead of a few? Yeah, that's a great question. And of course, the team is always talking about these various systems, whether it's, different master nodes based on functionality that Vignesh has talked about a bunch of times. There's different systems for master nodes when it comes to solutions for scalability, as well as gas saving techniques as well that you guys all read about in those, I'm sure that we can refer to it below to those token flow diagrams and the scalability releases that we did on Medium as well. But once again, when it comes to regulation clarity, right now there is a little bit unclarity when it comes to being able to set specific tiered nodes and so on and so forth. So once again, we cannot answer that specifically right now. So, all right, next question. Considering transparency is important as a way to see the number of transactions that occur on the Morpheus Network platform, not necessarily transactions details that might be sensitive. Yeah, most definitely. That's something that we've talked about. We've had this question before in the AMAs as well. If people can see in our recent token flow architecture, that's definitely something that we can implement as well. There are a couple other components that we'd have to have in place for that. So right now it's not our direct focus, but down the line it's something that's definitely on our radar. And thanks for pointing that out again. We've not forgotten about that, and it will happen at the right time. So, is there any chance of MRPH listed on Nash.io? Now, for the sake of transparency, leading right from that last question, I don't know much about Nash.io. I don't know much about Nash at all. I've heard about it from a few different community members who are big fans of it, and I obviously respect their opinion. If someone's a huge fan of Nash, whoever asked this question specifically, I don't see the name of who asked it. Please feel free to reach out to the team, put your case together, make a case for why we should be pushing hard to get onto Nash. Because I obviously we have interest in pushing ahead with exchanges at the right time, at the right exchanges. We just right now, I'll be honest, personally, I don't know too much about that exchange itself. So. We've already heard there's a Fortune 100 project you're working on. Is there any time frame that can be announced? Listen, when it comes to announcing these things, we announce it when we can. And it's once again there's obviously other things in play besides us just holding an announcement just because we want to hold it in, or even just polishing it up. So, for example, another signed client of ours. That there's no NDA that's in the way, and everything's perfectly ready to be announced. That they ship over 100 containers per month. It's right in the food and beverage industry as well, which is fantastic. Just right now we're polishing off the press release for that as well. So we'll be releasing that very soon, as well as when we can announce any other partners, any other clients, whether we're polishing it, whether there's some sort of agreement in place where we can announce it at the time. When we can, we definitely will. So. Thank you for that. So, are there any pilots for companies in India? Is Samish a solution provider for Morpheus? Excuse me. Sorry. Yes. I saw some people caught that Morpheus was on the Samish website. We actually did a smart contract audit for the sake of security. Obviously, we like to maintain that our technology is up to snuff. So we constantly are doing smart contract audits and that sort of thing as well. Not my general expertise. I know some people are laughing because Dan and smart contract audits don't go hand in hand. But Noma's dealt specifically with the Samish team, who was very professional, and it was great working with them, as Noma has told me. But yes, no, we have not at this moment run any pilots in India itself. So, let's see here. Okay, we had a couple questions about the past partnerships, tech partnerships that we've announced, such as with GoChain, as well as with HoloChain as well, with Holo. Now, obviously when it comes to middleware, connecting different technologies and allowing our clients to take advantage of these amazing techs that are out there, that's exactly what we do. So creating these partnerships with great other technologies like GoChain and HoloChain as well. What something I'll say about both those teams, both great groups of guys, and we don't burn bridges, right? So when a client, specific project comes out, specific use case that makes sense to work specific with GoChain, work specifically with HoloChain as well, we will, definitely go right back. And there's obviously no, so ill will or anything like that between the projects. We're very happy to work with them again. So based on that question, that there's, what's going on, is any burnt bridges? Absolutely not. So HoloChain and and GoChain as well, both great projects, and I'm sure down the line we'll be doing a lot of work with them as well. So hi Dan, appreciate the hard work your team are putting in. Can you reveal at this stage how masternode operators will receive payment? Once again, I hate to refer back to the regulation on clarity that it currently exists. I will say that right now our current plan is, of course, to pay masternode operators in MRPH, which is the token, obviously. But until we get that perfect clarity onto exactly which way we need to go with that, we can't commit. We can't be fully committal to that as well. So, but great question though, of course. Given that it would appear that based on almost any calculation, masternodes/side chains are already required for scalability due to the lack of capacity within the Ethereum network, how close are you actually putting your scalability solution in place and offering some chance to run masternodes to all? Clearly, 1 million transaction number no longer makes any sense. Okay, great question. I can only guess who asked this question specifically. No, it is a fantastic question, and your assumption that the 1 million transactions per day only makes any sense. That is a correct assumption. That was a chat that me and Vignesh had done early 2019, I believe, or mid 2019, and that was based on the capacity of Ethereum at the time. So one thing I will say that at this point right now with our amazing clients, we've had absolutely no scalability issues when it comes to notarizing and on the blockchain. So that is not an issue we've had currently at the moment. Now, when it comes to these clients as well, let's say like a federated co-op, we had a great meeting this week actually with another food and beverage company, one of the largest food and beverage company suppliers in Canada as well. It was actually it was perfect because they had mentioned that their way to maintain their certification and compliance was fully manual, and right away that opened my eye. Like, fully manual, so we can definitely help over there, but. Then they said they're very happy with that as well. So obviously we're not talking to the right people at the company who realize that increased operating expense is not a good thing. But at the same time, we're learning lots about their system as well. But anyways, just get back on topic. So when it comes to a client like a federated co-op, we have this amazing system in play for them. We've already implemented it. It's live. Their suppliers are up on the platform, which is great. The thing about a company like Federated Co-op is that they do a heck of a lot more than just food certification for the food suppliers. So we're actually working on a very small aspect of their company, and their sort of like digitalization journey has just begun. So what we have ahead of us with Federated Co-op, we're through the front door. We're through the front door, but we're not taking over the house by any means. There's still so much more of this mansion of a place to go through. And we're just basically through that front door, which feels amazing. They don't want to let a ton of people through their front door. That goes for any company. Why would they want to work with 10 different tech companies who have to take in their data and so on and so forth when we have so many great techs, so many great solutions that we have that we can offer to them. So we've already begun working on the next phases of implementation with FCL. As these implementations come in and get deployed and released, the amount of transactions required will increase as well. So even with a great company like FCL, a great company like VTelCan, doesn't necessarily mean you mentioned 1 million transactions daily or whatever it is. No matter how many transactions they do as a company, doesn't necessarily mean they're running all the transactions through Morpheus.Network at this point, not yet at least. So, and we have a ton of different projects on the go as well that when it comes to having to run a ton of transactions to the platform, that's definitely not going to be our a problem getting enough companies to run through the system. And once again, it's more about those scalability solutions that come into play based on a problem. And right now, as I said, since we don't have that scalability problem with our current transaction flow, that it's not a solution that we can put into action until it's a problem that's in place. So, all right, next question here. What is the current status with Joffrey Group? Joffrey Group's fantastic. Obviously, every company is dealing with, the current state of affairs in the world as they need to. Actually, Noam just had a meeting with Eduardo Joffroy last week. And we're a big part of their digitalization journey, the digital transformation. And yeah, everything's going very well. So thank you for that question. So is there any way we can cop some cool Morpheus Network merch? That is a great question. I've been approached a few times with that. So, I don't know who's watching the AMA right now, but if you are, let's say from the release date of the AMA itself. So today only, let's say hashtag MRPH hat. If you can tweet out with that hashtag MRPH hat, why you like Morpheus Network. Give one reason. This is why I like Morpheus Network. We'll pick the best one and we will send you a Morpheus Network hat. How does that sound? So there you go. So not only do we answer that question where you can get some, but how do you cop some? You tweet to hashtag MRPH hat, and we'll send it out to you. So can you provide an update on the POC for DHS, please? Yes, that proof of concept was completed successfully. So it is done. It just actually had a webinar this past week with John Wolper from Baseline Protocol. Carl McDermott from the Morpheus Network participated, as well as Jim Maslowski from Customs Direct. Jim spoke a little bit about the current state of affairs with Department of Homeland Security, what we're doing with the COAC group, and the new steps forward and what they're looking to do. So thank you for that question as well. So can you please describe the process for onboarding a new client? Yes. Let's see here. How labor intensive is it? Integrations with the API, or is it a manual process? That is a great question. And obviously every single client is completely different, right? Every single potential client is completely different. So we try to gear the conversations specifically based on the key performance indicators that the audience member has. So whoever's talking to us, we want to know what his indicators are, right? And then we can start thinking about the return on investment based on the platform, what the platform can offer, and how the money they put into implementing the platform will come back to them quickly, and even more so, obviously. So we want to get into that conversation, so it's an automatic answer as to why to use the platform and to push ahead with the services as fast as possible, because you're actually making money as opposed to spending money. So that's how we try to gear it. Now, obviously finding those pain points, finding the specific problems isn't always the easiest thing to do. We do have a plethoric amount of solutions that we can provide. So as we get into conversations, that's how you sort of, dive deeper and deeper and find out what those problems are. Now, the question specifically was about implementation. Now, obviously, if it's something we've implemented in the past and there's a lot of flexibility in what we've done in the past with past clients and past partners, then implementation can be very, very quick and easy. For example, we've provided backend APIs. One of our clients is SDocs that uses our backend API to provide service to their clients. So they're one of the Morpheus Network clients as well. That implementation is that was a custom API that was created. It was created in under a couple months actually. The entire document handling system was deployed with Federated Co-op in under 45 days. Now, when it comes to a brand new API, it might take more time. But it depends on the client, depends on necessity. I feel that is possibly our greatest asset as a software company, is our agility. Being a startup, myself, Noam, and the team can all go in a certain direction if we need to. We just put in this huge proposal for an agro input traceability system for a country, and it took the entire team to work on it. It was Brian and Carl and Noam and myself, and everybody was all over it. To have an entire team working in the same direction as needed, to be that agile, that is our advantage right there. There's some amazing tech companies out there, like an IBM, for example, and to get them to customize something so quickly, to get the entire team, to get the CEO of IBM working in the same direction, the COO, and so on and so forth, it's just not possible, right? So there's a lot of advantages working with a company like an Oracle and IBM, but there are different advantages to working with a Morpheus Network, and we know those advantages, and we played them strongly. So. Looking at the external token source, it's going to be used external source. Once again, I'm sorry to say that this has to do with the lack of regulation clarity, the regulatory unclarity, I guess you can say. As soon as we can, clarify that based on regulations, we definitely will. So, great question. Yes, I'm sorry for lack of an answer. So, a couple more questions here. Tell us the rough number of companies right now that are using the system. Yeah, definitely. It's funny because we have seen these amazing clients, and I think we've talked about this for years now. That it's not necessarily about a company and changing what they're doing specifically. It's about the companies they're connected to as well. So, right, it's about that network of companies. So these multipliers. I think I've used the word multiplier for a couple of years now, right? So when it comes to a company like like a Joffroy Group or Customs Direct, who are customs brokers and deal with a ton of different companies. They do services for other companies, and we can grow out our business through their companies as well. So talk about a federated co-op and talk about all their suppliers and all the suppliers that are onboarded on the system as well. Talking about the importers and exporters that we've run pilots with, the different companies that have been on the system as well. Uploading docs. We're talking dozens and dozens of clients. If you're talking all the suppliers, hundreds of companies that have touched and interacted with it, with the platform itself. Not saying hundreds of clients itself, but hundreds and hundreds of companies interacting with it. So we are so excited about the amount of battle testing we've done with our clients in different places in the world. From testing in Africa and Asia and Australia and Europe, all over the world. Obviously North and South America as well. So we're very happy with the functionality. We're very happy with the reach we have around the world with these different companies. And really it's, the projects that we're currently working on, getting enough companies onboarded and getting revenue flowing through the system. We've set ourselves up in such a great way. That is not a concern at all of ours, and we're going to keep on working at it. The concern is, in a sense, doing it properly and keeping that motivation with the entire team, because there will be a lot of onboarding. But we're really not concerned about having enough companies to work with at this moment. So that is not a concern itself. So great question. Tons and tons of companies interacted with it all around the world. So thanks again for that. So, hey Dan, is there any chance the pilot with DHS will go live this year? Honestly, no, there isn't. I don't think it's in their agenda. If you even hear Jim talk about it, they're not talking about pushing anything live to have a completely blockchain-based system at the U.S. Customs border or anything like that. So appreciate the question, but the answer sadly is no. How do you think baseline protocol could be for blockchain adoption, in particular for enterprise adoption of Morpheus.Network? Yeah, that's a great question, and obviously Baseline is doing some amazing work. Working obviously with Ernst & Young and all the different enterprises they're connected to as well. And really, it's kind of John Wolpert himself. He comes from the world of Hyperledger originally. Centralized blockchains, these siloed blockchains. And basically, he doesn't even call it a blockchain, right? He calls it, I think, what was it, a database, a distributed database, basically within a company itself. So, moving to the world of sort of pushing decentralization and using the Ethereum mainnet or any decentralized blockchain system. For that matter, using the Baseline protocol and the protocols they're put in place to allow companies to connect and notarize and basically keep up with each other and basically maintain their contracts in a transparent fashion, but still keeping obviously sensitive data private. So really amazing stuff. Keeping different systems in play, sort of coordinated as well. Through the Baseline protocols as things are added on and updated, whether it's a contract that's amended or signed or so on and so forth. That all comes down into basically the chain where people can pull out who amended it, who added the piece of data to the contract itself, and everyone accesses that same unique piece of data from the same distributed ledger. But once again, it still remains private. So that's pretty amazing. We have right now our current project with Baseline obviously involves a supply chain. Shocking. It's a cross-border shipment itself. And what's great about it is that it involves, as the Baseline protocol works, all these different systems. And we're talking about cross-border shipment from Canada into the U.S. We have 5 different systems in play, right? So there's the actual shipper himself, using a transport company, the customs broker, customs border protection, and then the receiver of the shipment as well. So we have all these different systems in play. Then we have a clearance number, a PAPS number, which is a unique PAPS number, which has to be kept private as well. But all these 5 different systems have to use that PAPS number. And then attached to that PAPS number as well is obviously all the pertinent documentation required now to cross the border. So we're talking the pro forma invoice, which labels off the actual commodity and the values and to and fro on the bill of lading and so on and so forth. So all this data when it comes to documents, the PAPS number, and all these systems have to remain in sync and in play itself. So we have all these different things through the Baseline protocol in our specific. They call them epics. It's in their GitHub repository. It's an Epic number 90. And you can see we're working with a couple other great technologies, great other systems out there as well. So very excited about that. Very excited about Baseline in general. Really want to also thank John Wolpert for the amazing webinar that he did with the Canadian Blockchain Supply Chain Association this past week. Really awesome, interesting stuff. We'll have more webinars that are upcoming. Lots of stuff on the go, working with various clients. We have, some new announcements coming up just around the corner with new signed clients who are, very excited, but obviously revenue paying, clients. Why wouldn't we be? Everyone would be. So, and of course, we're very excited about the project we have ongoing with various government bodies. We're excited to give you a lot more information on those as well. So lots we have on the go. Any other questions that I missed, feel free to reach out to me directly, Dan at Morpheus.Network, or reach out to the team. Feel free to ask questions that I can't answer. Feel free to ask questions that I can't answer. And if I can't answer them, I just won't be able to. So once again, guys, really appreciate it. And as always, guys, for me, it's the weekend, but whatever day it is, enjoy to the fullest. Have a great day.